Hello and welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of the Electronic Triple 2016. I'm your host, Daniel Dwyer. Delighted to be joined by the creative director of Bethesda Studios, Mr. Todd Howard. Todd, how you doing?
Good to see you, man. It's good to finally meet.
Yes.
It's shocking that we have actually, this is our first interview together.
It is, the first time we've
met, yeah.
I feel like I've made dozens of videos about your various video games.
I've watched many of them.
Right.
I've worried about you sometimes. You're like off in the woods, harming yourself.
Yeah,
but it's like Survivor. We're like, well, someone has a camera, so
exactly.
he'll be okay.
Exactly.
He'll be okay.
The camera ops there, you know, he's not just on his own.
Right.
It's great. I'm very lucky to live near a bunch of really weird places because I live in Oakland. So there's woods there and there's a beach there. And thankfully, the terrains of your video games also...
They match up well?
Yes, they match up
so
pretty good.
So we should only do games that look like that?
Yes.
All
if
right.
you can do one that looks like downtown Oakland,
okay,
that would actually really help because that's about 3 minutes from where I live.
All right, I'll put that on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Bethesda Softworks, you guys last year, decided to do your own thing. Arguably stole the show in 2015. It was ridiculous. You announced Fallout 4, and you are now a mobile game developer who is quite successful.
We are, surprisingly, yeah.
So I guess it was a no-brainer doing another one this year.
As far as a showcase, I wouldn't say that. It's always a decision in terms of, do we have enough to show? As far as myself and my group, we felt we had enough to put together a good video with the DLC and shelter updates and Skyrim. So, it's a great time with E3 to kind of tell all our fans and everybody else, like, here's what's coming from us for the next year.
Yeah, and you've got an incredible fan base across multiple platforms. So let's talk about one of them, I guess, specifically. Skyrim. Skyrim Special Edition is what you're calling it, coming out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I feel like this rumor has been bounding around for a couple of years. You guys kept it under wraps pretty good as well. Has this been done for a while?
We started doing it, we first got the Xbox One dev kits.
Right.
So our approach was, we were doing Fallout 4 at the time, but we didn't have enough data to kind of stress the system and learn the console. So we actually ported over Skyrim to it.
Cool.
To kind of learn the system. And then it kind of sat there while we finished Fallout 4. And as we were wrapping up Fallout 4, kind of got in our heads, like, we had been playing the Skyrim, just the port that we had done.
Right.
And it was still like, oh, this is really fun. We should add a lot to it, redo the graphics, and if we like it, let's get it out there to people.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Does that help you guys sort of learn new technology? Is that like help you port over that?
It's a good way to jump in and just see what's working and what's not working. Our games have a lot of data.
Yeah.
So as opposed to another game where you just might make a scene, in a level. The complication for us is we need to stream in a big world, have a lot of data. So that kind of early development, that's how we like to handle it.
Yeah, and you kept it under wraps as well.
Well, enough people guessed.
Yeah, they dreamed, they hoped.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's what before Bethesda conferences always feels like. It's a wish list, and it's like, when at Christmas you ask for like 6 presents, and you're only going to get 2 of them. Because you just gotta,
right.
Your mom's not gonna fall for that one. So you're wondering which ones you're gonna get. That's like what every Bethesda conference now seems like. Yeah. For me, anyway. Let's talk a little bit about Fallout. First of all, the whole impetus to sort of announce it last year and then get it out within 3 or 4 months, was that sort of a backlash to like the sort of awful Kotaku leak thing that happened?
No, not at all.
Or is Fallout just one of those games that has like such a fanfare that you don't need to spend 2 years?
It was always my plan that I don't like these long. I don't like them for any game. Like, I hear about a game, I'm like, no one goes like, I wish I could wait a year.
Yeah.
Never is that the response. Like, I want that now.
Yeah.
I think there's a period of time where people want to be excited for a little while. And so we did feel, though, because it's Fallout, if there was a title we could get away with it, that it was the title. So I think that kind of energy last year leading up to release, like, it's weird to think that, and I said this, it's only been a year since people heard about it.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to, I like it to be as short as possible. Right now, the way the industry works, that's probably as short as you can do it.
Yeah.
To get, like, we didn't tell retail or those kind of things. So, but in our future stuff, I'd like it to be short as well.
Yeah, like you said, very few games you could probably get away with doing that. Fallout 4 is certainly one of them. It's always amazing seeing, people take these games and play such different versions of them, enjoying them for different reasons. What do you get a kick out of when you see people playing it? Like, do you watch Twitch streams? Do you watch YouTubers?
What is it, the Naked and Gunless?
Naked and Gunless, yeah.
I get a kick out of kind of less watching somebody play it, but more the stories they tell afterwards.
Right.
I've watched some people play it. I'll go on Twitch and watch. That's more of like an experiment to see like what they ignore or what they do more or less of.
You still got your like
because
game design
people will
hand.
say it differently. Like they won't talk about. They'll tell about like the high action things or the big moments, but there's a lot of downtime. And I think that time is important, and people don't realize it when they talk about it later. They don't say like, I just kind of wandered for an hour and I watched the sunset. But when they play it, they do that. Like I do that. I think that's a very important element, not just to our games, but other games, like take in the geography. Just be there for a while. Yeah, I watch a bunch.
And as somebody who basically holds the creative cards on a series that, multiple series, but talking about Fallout, series that, everyone has an answer for something. They all want something. I feel like with Fallout 3, there was the whole thing like, oh, it was good, but like the shooting, maybe not as tight as we'd like.
Yep.
And then Fallout 4 comes out, and it's more of a shooter than it is a role-playing game.
Dialogues,
right.
Yeah.
How do you, you can't appease everyone, right? So, how do you, as the creative sort of fulcrum, manage that, or what do you think? Do you listen to it?
I think our fans are used to it over time, that we do like to try new things, and we'll have some successes. I think the shooting in Fallout 4 is really good. I think it plays really well. Obviously, the way we did some dialogue stuff, that didn't work as well, but it was, I think, I know the reasons we tried that to make a nice interactive conversation, but less successful than other things in the game. And so for us, we take that feedback, and I think it's I think long term, and so or other things we did in the game, like the choices you have at the end. We have an opportunity with something like Far Harbor, like, okay, how many ways can it end? Or let's give them more choice with something like that. And so it's not just a one-off, meaning Fallout 4 comes out and then we forget about it.
Yeah.
So, and then with mods and things like that. So I think it's an ongoing thing. I don't just think like, oh, it's this point in time. And I think that kind of feedback we get is really, really helpful. And you're right that everybody does have an opinion. And I think that's good,
I guess, Skyrim came out, massive mod support, PC. We ran a show on GameSpot for 3 years,
with
I
mods.
think. Skyrim mods. With Fallout 4, have you seen that same sort of attachment rate? And do you now launch these games as like, hey, you know what? This isn't just like our Q4 big title. This is the game we're now going to be supporting for like 2 years.
Or longer.
Right.
You look at Skyrim, it's still, it's 5 years old, still going. We don't put a timeline on it. So we kind of have our mode of the main game comes out, then we're going to support that with DLC, and then we're going to add mod tools, and the long tail, our community, it's not multiplayer, so our community becomes modding. And so you asked, we've seen that with Fallout 4. We're just starting to see it because the mod stuff really has just come out.
Yeah.
And being able to, us having that in the game with Bethesda.net makes a huge difference in who's able to see it with the console players. So, the Xbox stuff just came out.
Right, yeah.
And we've just passed 20 million mod downloads.
Okay.
Which is like, I'm like, is that right? That's a big number.
Someone added an
And
O.
the PS4 stuff is coming. Still a lot of work to do there with Sony. But I think with Fallout 4, because it's built in the game, my hope is it's more popular than Skyrim's. It should be. And then with Skyrim Special Edition, we can have those people come over to Skyrim who have already been doing it on the PC, and people who wanted to do it but don't have a high-end PC that can really run the cool mods, that they can do it on console.
Is there an element of trying to break down technical barriers here as well, where there are people who probably would like mods, they're just not adept at using their PC, or they just it's one
There's
or two
still friction there,
right?
Like being able to download them and make them run, and that was part of it, just to make it easy. Like, I want to try that, make it safe. Because a lot of times people are nervous, should I download this thing from the internet and see what it does to my computer? And so I think they want us to be active in saying, your game won't be hosed. Try these out, and then just make it easy.
Who do you think's doing this? Because I remember when I went to Minecon years ago, I suddenly had this realization. I was like, oh, the people who are playing this game aren't hardcore PC games. It's it's a much younger crowd. Who do you think is installing mods? Because I'm a massive PC gamer, and I've always modded games, and I do some of the mods in Skyrim and Fallout. But there seems to be like do you think there is a specific like demographic?
I don't think about it a lot, actually.
I guess it doesn't
We've
matter.
been fortunate enough where our audience has gotten big enough. Generally, our audience is more hardcore gamers, but there's a lot of them.
Right.
People say, like, oh, that hits more of a casual audience, but there's so many hardcore gamers that if we make the game for ourselves, like what do we like to play, it generally finds an audience. So maybe they're like us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't given it a lot of thought.
I guess if you don't have to give it a lot of thought, then it's not
there's
a problem.
Enough people.
Yeah. Will you ever get sick of making games about Fallout and the Elder Scrolls?
I don't think so. They're worlds that we love. We do have some new stuff going that we're looking at.
You guys working on 3 new projects at the moment, or?
It depends how you add it up, but there's there are some big ones that we have coming that are they're in the vein of what you'd expect from us, but they're also very new and different games and bigger than, in many ways, than anything we've done.
So you tease me like that, and then I instantly think about that Fallout Online, like all the history of that legal dispute, and it's all in the past, and maybe there's a bright new future for that somewhere.
I would say we have ideas for everything. Like if someone online saying, I think I should do this, like, that's what we do at work. That's what should we do? We could do this. And that's like how the VR thing came up. Like, hey, let's try VR, or let's try a mobile game. There are things you wouldn't like generally expect from us, but now it's kind of, once you see it, you're like, oh yeah. They have a mobile game. Or, Fallout 4 in VR, when we thought about it, like, let's try it out. I feel like this could be, let's see how it plays. Then you get in and you realize, like, it really is biased, but the perfect game for VR.
For like just exploring
it, pick stuff up, the way the combat works. The interface is already on your wrist.
Right.
You can just look at it. And the game has the right flow. It's like I said, I was saying about watching people play, like there's a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
So it's not this like super intense thing all the time. The combat has a certain pace that suits VR. And so that's just something we're going to try.
Yeah, so how will you be able to play Fallout 4 start to finish in virtual reality? Because I know the demo that they showed at the, was it the Microsoft, I think afterward? No, it was one of the VR booths they had. Was a sort of, just a red rocket kind of area, right?
That demo actually is the one we have here. You can go anywhere.
It's okay, you can, all right.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
They're just kicking people off.
Yeah, because it's a giant line, hours long. We say, okay, you're done. But you can take that demo. I go all the way down to the city and, fight Deathclaws with the Fat Man and all that's great.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have the sort of creative free will to do whatever now? I mean, how long have you been working at Bethesda?
22 years.
Did you envisage that, like 22 years later, especially when you look at all of the PC gaming companies who have fallen by the wayside, that Bethesda would still be left standing, and they're standing so strong?
I take it kind of one game at a time. I don't think about our place in terms of where will we be 10 years from now and 20 years from now. It's mostly what kind of games and experiences do we want to create. Let's do them the best we can, and we have been very, very fortunate.
How do you feel about the DLC for Fallout 4? How's it been received by everyone so far?
Well, I think there was some anxiety over the season pass.
Right.
First time we've done one. We had an opportunity to do one with Skyrim, and I felt like, no, I don't. There's kind of like a potential negative there with the season pass.
Right.
This is the first time we've done one, and I mean, it's sold really, really well. So we're selling more DLC than we ever have. But we wanted to do right by the people who bought it early on for like $30.
Yeah.
To do right by them and say, look, we're going to give you a lot of content. And so once Nuka World comes out, it's $70 worth of content. And so, we've done DLC from like the horse armor. We've done every type of DLC that really is there. And we have found that it's all successful. It's just finding like what we feel good about, what our users feel good about. And so, we knew we wanted to do a mix of like workshop packs and then larger adventures. So Nuka World is in the like larger adventure quests area kind of.
It's that same problem of trying to appease so many voices that are all probably shouting you at the same time.
Yeah, but as long as you give them, I think all of those opinions are right. Like, it's good to have this type of thing, it's good to have this type of thing. And so as long as we have different types that are available, I think it works out.
What are you looking at, like stepping away from your own projects, what are you looking at E3, and what's tickling your fancy in terms of what everyone else has shown?
There's some VR stuff I want to try. I think the Battlefield 1 trailer, once you see that, you're like, okay, I got to go play that. They always make incredible stuff. So, and there's just so much good stuff to see here. I kind of wander around. I get my hands on very few games. I just want to, often I'm watching someone else play it quickly and be like, okay. So.
And are you all in on VR? Do you think
I wouldn't use the phrase all in. Our company's done it for a long time. The id Software stuff with Doom years ago.
Right, of course.
And we think Fallout 4 is a good match. I'm kind of hold people back from is this the way all games will be? And we don't need to guess right now. Let's just enjoy this for what it is, and we'll see where it goes.
Can I ask you quickly about Doom, actually?
Yeah.
What a wonderful surprise that was.
It's and I got to watch that kind of happen.
Yeah.
And I love that game. And it's fun being, since our company has grown, you asked how we would be over 20 years.
Yeah.
One of the great things that's happened as we've grown, you kind of get to the other studios. We're very similar in how we think about games, and being a Doom fanboy and being able to play that early and see it come along. And then the guys at Arcane, being able to, I know people have seen Dishonored too.
Right.
But then that game is amazing, so. I don't want to do the Homer pick. What are you looking forward to? But Dishonored 2 is amazing, and seeing the new Prey and all the stuff that's going on, it's almost like we have a thing we do every holidays where all the studios come together, show their stuff early to each other, and it's like our own mini E3.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Well, it's like the first person PC world. You've got Doom doing all their crazy arena stuff. You guys are holding on to role-playing games. Dishonored is basically the new Thief, and then Prey kind of looks like System Shock.
I think that's all very accurate.
Right,
actually, yes.
I was thinking
about it. But they're all games
it.
we love.
Yeah.
And they're a bit. They're old school but new.
Yeah.
I think everything we do, and so there's very little we do where, the people in the company look at it and say, that doesn't really feel like us.
Right.
That tends to fall by the wayside, and the stuff that we're putting out as a company are things that we would all want to buy and play.
Loads of exciting games announced at Bethesda. Great to see you guys putting out Skyrim on the latest consoles. Do you have a busy year coming up? It sounds like you're working on a lot of things that we don't know about at the moment.
We're always busy. I mean, it's different busy than last year.
Right.
We're shipping Fallout 4 and doing Shelter. We have more things going on this year, so it becomes more of we have X many DLC and new projects and mobile, so it becomes more of an issue in making sure we focus on the right things at the right time.
Right.
But we do have more going than we ever have, and expanding, my team in particular, and that's helps us do bigger and better things.
All right. Presumably we'll see you back here then at E3 2017.
Presumably. We'll see. Right. Too early to guess even for myself.
Yeah, you were not finished today yet either. Todd Howard, pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely to hang out. Thank you so much for watching the GameSpot stage over the past 3 hours and change. I am dropping down to the co-op stage downstairs for a little while to hang out with Jeff Canada. But come back here. Lucy James will be back for more video games, 3 hours of which here on the GameSpot stage. Stick around.